Hello, good morning, everyone. We are going to be reacting to as the Pokeball turns Ginger Jirachi edition. So let's get to it, shall we? Grab your takis, grab your soda, and let's get right into the podcast. Yes, sir. Okay, let's go for it.
My name is Ginger Jirachi, and this is my.
Where every voice, every journey, and every memory brings us closer to the world of Pokemon. I'm David Hernandez, and I'm joined by someone who built a space where wonder and warmth shine just like a shooting star. Ginger Jirachi, welcome to As the Pokeball Turns.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely, and you're one of the first people I've had on the podcast. I told you this before we started that love Jirachi.
Yeah.
And I wanted to start off with a fun question before we dive into the whole Facebook and Jirachi and everything. Obviously, Jirachi's known as the one who grants wishes. So if you could have one wish granted by Jirachi, but it can only be related to your Pokemon journey, what would it be?
Ooh. That's a tough one. The last couple of years, I've been really kind of bouncing all over the place with family stuff. So I guess my one wish would be I would really love to go to Worlds someday. I haven't been to a whole lot of shows, but I would really, really love to go to Worlds and watch that. I think that would probably be my number one wish.
That's
My number one wish will be money, bitches, and more money. I'm just joking. I don't know what my one wish will be. To be honest with you, maybe to have a happy life, or to have like a family, or just get isekai'd into another world. As long as it's not Goblin Slayer world, I should be fine. But I think that could be my like true wish. Either get isekai'd or have a lovely family like Spy Family, the anime, and have that dynamic with my younger daughter and my lovely missus. That would be kind of wholesome and will fill my life with joy and completeness. So let's get to it.
not a bad wish. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of wish for that. What about Worlds appeals to you? Like, why Worlds of all things?
So the trading card game kind of got me back into Pokemon the last few years. I've got three younger brothers, and one of them is really into Magic. So he watches competitive stuff on YouTube, and he kind of turned me back into the competitive scene for Pokemon. That probably like 2014, 2015, and it just kind of rekindled my love for, all the aspects, especially the community. I feel like there's some people who are very gatekeepy about whatever hobby that may be, and, it's surprising that our community does have that, but from the interactions and the people I've met, whether it's locally or online, the vibes are just so good, man. So really just like meeting people and, having a shared love and passion for something, and how many different outlets Pokemon gives different people. Like you've got your thing, some people are more into the plushies, the art, whatever it is. So really just the community and the growth is cool to me about Worlds. Even I remember the last Worlds, I had to work that entire weekend. I was gonna go, but work scheduled me right. So that was kind of like my little treat to myself after work, to hop on YouTube and catch up with, what's going on and kind of the meta of the different decks and stuff.
Now, you mentioned how you originally were playing Magic the Gathering, and Pokemon and Magic to me are kind of, I'll say, distant cousins in a way. Magic has the lands, Pokemon has the energies. They're kind of a little similar, but obviously very different games. What was it specifically about Pokemon that kind of brought you back? Was it the artwork, the strategy? Like, what is it about the trading card game back in 2014 that kind of brought you back in?
I would say the art, definitely big time. When I was younger, I was a little bit of an artist. I still doodle and stuff. Did some street graffiti, although I didn't just say that. Yeah, no, I really love the artwork, and that's actually something I'm considering getting into, is doing like a mini series on different artists in the cards and kind of get into their other works outside of Pokemon. But yeah, I'd definitely say the artwork. It's such a comfort thing, and it's so inspiring, like, especially with the cutesy Pokemon, like the colors and pastels, that really, that turns my brain on for sure.
Now, when it comes to the artwork, and we'll get a little artsy side on this side, what kind of cards do you enjoy art-wise? Can you give us some examples of some that kind of stick to you?
I love my Jirachi cards. That's obviously a given. I've really been into the last couple of sets, especially the Destined Rivals. It's such a great callback to the actual, like, trainer cards and rocket cards from back in the day. That was one of the first sets I collected when I was younger, my errand money or chore money. So that was always a really special thing. This is dating me a little bit. Me and my brothers would walk up to the local Kmart and all chip in and get a couple packs together. So I'm really into the new sets, but as far as like art style wise, my favorite, and I'm blanking on the artist's name right now, but the cards that look like they're, either made with like clay or that they're crocheted. I just think those cards are so stinking cute. And I know they're only like pennies, but I've got like a whole binder of just cute Pokemon just because the artwork's so cool. Growing up,
Yeah, sorry for pausing that. To be honest with you, I don't know any art designers that customize the cards because I'm not that much into the like Pokemon card scene. It's been like, I don't know, 2 decades ago since I last touched a Pokemon card. Back in like primary school, which I think for you Americans is like grade school or something like that. I don't know your educational system, but yeah, with in terms of artists, I just don't know any. But with Jirachi as a Pokemon, I always did like Jirachi as a kid because I find it to be like a unique Pokemon, especially that one sub story from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Sky, I believe. Or was it Darkness and Time? I think it was one of them. No, I think it was Sky due to the bonus episodes where Bidoof has to go into this cavern to make a wish. And Jirachi was that Pokemon that could grant wishes. So I always did like Jirachi sprites in the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. But in terms of like the actual Pokemon game, I never did obtain the Jirachi in the original games, like in Pokemon Emerald or Platinum or even Black and White. I think I did obtain one in Black and White. I cannot remember for 100% if that's the case. But I do know for sure when the Let's Go games came out. Was it the Yeah, it was the Let's Go games and Sword and Shield. So I got both of them. And then I got the Pokemon Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl. No, Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamonds. That's the name for all of them. As well as if you could speak to these two elderly couple, they would trade you like I think it was a Mew. They will trade you as well as a Jirachi. And I think that was my first time legally owning a Jirachi compared to like hacking it for match and replay type of way. But I can't remember if in Generation 5 I did obtain a Jirachi or not, to be honest with you. Hello, Yusuf. Welcome to the stream, bladder. I'm playing ROWE. What, you owe me? You owe me
I watch a lot of like stop motion shows. Like the most popular one would be like Nightmare Before Christmas, to give everybody an idea what the medium stop motion is like. So those cards where the Pokemon themselves are a real physical thing, I think that's probably my favorite art style right now.
Now, you mentioned how Jirachi specifically is one of the favorite Pokemon you have, or one of the Pokemon you love. What is your connection to Jirachi? Like, is it a favorite Pokemon? Is there a special memory tied to it?
I would definitely say it's my favorite Pokemon for sure. when that movie came out, I got it from a 3-pack DVD. I can't remember the other movies.
This man, I want to hear this man in this stream, no, in this podcast, mentioning about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Sky, the Bidoof special mission. I want him to mention that. If he doesn't mention that, I'm going to call him out right here, right now, in DMs, and tell him to get his ass over to Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Sky and play that bonus mission. Jeez.
That were on it. But Wishmaker was one of them, and it was one of the few DVDs that me and my brothers could agree on. We used to, yeah, I know that's funny. The oldest brother being like, "Shut up, we're watching Pokemon."
Yeah. Well, I mean, more so because the brothers usually fight. It's kind of amazing y'all actually agreed on one movie.
Yeah. You know, now that we're older, we all get along, but that's one thing we very much have in common. We've been Pokemon fans since the get-go. I remember when it hit the States in 98, that's when my youngest brother was born. My grandma went to Toys R Us and got those, how do I describe it? Basically just like a plastic figurine, but they would talk. You know, it just had like one of those sliding buttons on the bottom. And it was, let me think, it was Meowth, because I ended up getting Meowth, because I guess all the Pikachus had been sold out, and it was so new, my grandma didn't really know what to get, so all 4 of us boys got our first Pokemon, so mine was Meowth. I think we had a Squirtle, a Bulbasaur, and I can't remember the other one. There was only like 7 or 8 in the set. From a young age, we were always really into it, but getting back to Jirachi, definitely my favorite Pokemon. This, again, I'm aging myself here. When Ruby and Sapphire version came out, I was one of the only kids that got Sapphire because I liked the artwork better. I liked Kyogre more than Groudon. So it kind of worked out because I was one of the only kids that had Sapphire, so everybody wanted to trade with me. And I had this buddy, Zach Green, who I'm still very close with to this day. Me and him would trade together, so I guess that would have been the first Pokedex I ever completed. At the time, 100% completed it. And he was also one of the friends that his parents are super geeky. Like they've always been into like graphic novels, and like they turned me onto like Futurama and stuff like that. And he had the Coliseum bonus disc to get Jirachi because, you know, being that young, I think I was maybe, like 11 or 12 at the time, around there. So I didn't really understand, you know, and it's a whole thing now where it's like the distribution events. It was so hard for me to even consider that a viability, you know, because I was young and I live in the middle of nowhere in Illinois. Like, my town's only 15,000 people. So to have a friend that had the Coliseum bonus disc, me and him both got Jirachi to finish our Sapphire and Ruby dexes. And yeah, I just remember that being such a fun time in my life. Like, every morning in the summer, I'd go over, we'd trade, we'd battle all day, all night. And then when he got that disc, that was just huge because I'd never experienced Pokemon in multiple platforms before. You know, for me, it'd always just been the TV show. I'd have grandma record that. Me and my brothers all shared one Game Boy Advance, or maybe it was 2. We didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, so to get a mythical Pokemon via a whole different game system, that just like really turned me on. And Jirachi's just, you know, super cute. And I feel like it's very underrated, especially with the Alpha and Omega stuff. I feel like they really focused on the Latios Latios thing. And, you know, Jirachi doesn't get a whole lot of love. You know, a lot of people really like Deoxys and Rayquaza. At least in my opinion, that's the most popular fandom as far as it goes to Gen 3. And I feel like Jirachi's just super slept on. So when I decided to start my page, I was like, well, that just makes sense.
Now, you talked about how your brothers, y'all were opening packs, y'all got your figurines. Was those early days of playing Pokemon competition a way for y'all to bond, or was it kind of a bit of both?
You know, I didn't learn, like, how to actually play the card game until I was probably in middle school. At that time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the huge thing. I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh! But when the meta started shifting, basically it turned into like a pay-to-play thing. You know, even if you had a really great deck, you know, the rich kids had the really good cards, so they'd smoke you. So it was never a competitive thing until later in my life. It was more about the collection, and it really helped me make friends. I really didn't have friends growing up until Pokemon, because everybody was into it. You know, it was, even in this little rural town, it was easier to make friends and meet people and have conversations they'd see your cards or they'd see you playing your Game Boy Advance and, immediately you just make a new friend. So it was very much a connective thing for all of us. Like, all my brothers are super into Pokemon. We don't talk a whole lot. We're all spread out over the states and we're grown men now. So, we got our careers and getting ready to start families and stuff like that. But I feel like I talk to my brothers every single day, and if Pokemon wasn't a factor, I really don't know if that would be the case.
Well, after Gen 3, was there any particular generation afterwards or even before that you enjoyed the most?
So, I gotta give love to the OGs. The first game I owned was a pre-owned yellow version. That was like a year or two before Gen 3 came out. That was a big deal, because all my friends, they had gold and silver, and my next door neighbor had crystal. So I guess crystal would be the first game I ever played. But yellow version, I still to this day, I really love yellow version. And, Gen 3, obviously my favorite. It came out during a time where global warming was becoming a talking point, even as a kid. So I thought that the storyline just came out at a perfect time. 3 is always going to be top. But I really, and this might be controversial, but I preferred Sword and Shield over Scarlet and Violet. I thought,
Okay, 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 okay. Okay, Ginger Jirachi, I see you. You know what? You was doing so good, my guy. Then you had to ruin it. You ruined it. By saying Sword and Shield was better than Scarlet and Violet. You ruined it. But no, that's fine. It's calm. I don't blame you. Really. But yeah, I wish I could relate to that, but sadly I can't. Especially when it comes to like Pokemon with family. Oh, that must have been so nice just having a family that plays Pokemon or you playing Pokemon with them. I remember as like a child, the closest thing I have to a family member was my little sister, who I introduced into Pokemon, and I let her play on my Nintendo DS and just like mess around with it until she gotten into primary school. I think it was primary school. When me and her just had like these mock battles with each other with both of our Nintendo DSs. Since I since she was the only one I could have like battled with back then. Until went into secondary school where I found a few people that played Pokemon and I used to battle with them on the school playground. I think that's the closest thing that I can remember in terms of like having some type of communication or like in terms of overall fun when it comes to playing Pokemon with other people, as well as with my little sister. But it was still like limited because she was a pain in my ass back then. So yeah, I can't really remember. Other than that, my first generation was Generation 3 for Emerald copy that I've gotten on my birthday. And it was at Nando's. I think it was at Nando's where I got to my first Game Boy Advance with Spyro, Crash, and then Pokemon Emerald. Oh, those were the memories. On the original VBA, Visual Boy Advance, or was it the Game Boy Advance? Yeah, it's the Game Boy Advance. Oh, those were the days, man. I wish I could just go back in time and experience them all over again. But yeah.
that the story was great. The new Mons were fantastic. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed Scarlet and Violet, but it had been a long time, basically since Gen 3. I'd say Sword and Shield, Pokemon Snap, and then, of course, Gen 3 those have got to be my tops.
Hey, you. Yes, you with the ears. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Love hearing real stories from real trainers? Help As the Pokeball Turns become the best Pokemon interview podcast like no one ever was. By joining our Patreon, you're not just supporting the show, you're helping more fans share their journeys with the world. As a thank you, you'll get a custom Pokemon wristband each month themed after a featured Pokemon. Head on over to patreon.com/asthepokeballturns and join our community today. Now, from what you said earlier, you said the trading card games are what brought you back. So I'm guessing you took a break at some point after Sword and Shield, or was it before?
Yeah. Long story short, I got married and divorced in the same year.
I don't know if I should say congratulations or I'm sorry. It's kind of
No, totally her loss. It was we were super young. It just anyway, not to get into that. But long story short, when we split, I don't know if she sold all my stuff or just like destroyed it, but I had an extensive collection of cards, and I used to be really into the plushies, so I had like 20 Pokemon Center exclusive plushies.
Wow.
So after we split, I kind of had to start from ground one. So I moved out of the area, and one of my things to do to, explore the new area and get to know people was Pokemon Go. I've played that literally every day since it.
Honestly, I know that was kind of brief that you mentioned it, but that triggered me. Throwing like Pokemon plushies or like your own stuff away, especially after like a divorce or you splitting up with your partner. I don't know why people do that, man. Even parents, by just throwing stuff away in a bin, why not just keep it or like hide it or anything like that? And with your partner, I do understand frustrations are high, people get pissy, but you don't throw other people's stuff away, man, in a bin. That's just such a, oh, I don't know, man. And that's a bit iffy for me, man. Legit, I would be fuming if I had a wife that me and her had a divorce or even a girlfriend and she throws my stuff away. Oh, I would be vexed, my dude. You wouldn't even imagine how pissed off I would be with that. But yeah, he's a better man than me, man. He's a better man than me. If it's me personally, I don't know what I would do to that person. I would throw my stuff away. With my parents, yeah, I didn't have no choice. I was young. I was naive. But if anyone touched my stuff now, woo boy, I haven't fought in over 10 years with anyone. But I will throw hands with a motherfucker if I have to. If anyone touches my stuff and then throw it away. Or even sell them so they can make money. Fuck no, man. But Pokemon Go is cringe.
Came out. So I'd say Sword and Shield definitely got me back into it, although Pokemon's been in my life every day since it came to the States, so it's kind of hard to say like what quote-unquote got me back into it, because I've always been into it, but I feel like that relationship change and kind of starting from ground one as a new journey, I definitely was very upset, that's not an easy thing to go through in life, divorce, I didn't think I'd be a part of that demographic, but showed me what I'm into, the things that I can't live without. And I'd never felt so angry and upset after losing these physical things. But the more I thought about it, I was like, it's not that it's physical things. It's because it's Pokemon. You have such a bond over it.
Exactly.
Or at least for me, it's so close to the heart that pushed me a little bit to go, you know what, instead of getting stuck in the mud or erasing the file or whatever, to just start a new game, I guess.
I'll be the first to admit
That is a great
I've never
mindset.
experienced marriage or divorce, so I can't even fathom what that's like, what you went through. But from what you told me, it sounds like you have such a mixed emotions at the time, because obviously, because a lot of things happen within a year. Those are two life-changing events for anybody.
Yeah,
But it's kind of
Exactly.
amazing just to see how you were able to find people through Pokemon. In this case, Pokemon Go. What
Oh,
did it mean to find
cringe.
connection again through Pokemon Go?
It was everything for a while. After me and my ex split, I got a job opportunity up in the suburbs. And, I basically started from square one. I didn't know anybody. I was couch surfing for a little bit. And, after work and stuff, I'd go to the pub or, wherever, get a bite to eat. And I was surprised at how many adults like me, in the suburbs, there's tons of Pokestops, right? So, like, basically everybody I met was into it of their own fruition, or because their kids were super into it. So I got to connect with a lot of my clients that way, meeting new friends, just totally random people. I'd see them on their phone. I'm like, yo, add me as a friend, or do you need a trade? It was pretty incredible how quickly I gained new friendships and new connections just through Go initially, because after the split, it was really, really tough. I didn't think I'd be able to start over again. I thought, oh, my friends aren't gonna, they're not gonna rock with me anymore, yada yada. Learned very quickly that that was kind of the opposite. The community and people that are into Pokemon are just so welcoming. And, a lot of times we don't want to talk about the serious stuff, and Pokemon's kind of an outlet for that.
Yeah, so Pokemon is basically a escape. Just like any media that you will consume. So, like, for my escape, it's anime. That's my overall escape from, like, reality. Because my day-to-day life is like, shit. And when I watch anime, I just escape that reality of my life being just dreadful. And I'm going day by day with just depression. But anime just gives me that sense of hope that there could be a better tomorrow in my life. Depending on what type of anime that you do watch. Or even any media that you would consume. But yeah, despite Pokemon Go being cringe, and I highly dislike Pokemon Go, I do appreciate him finding his way back up from the depths of his divorce. Because some men, especially when it comes to their mental health, when it's something that's not their fault or something that happens during either a marriage or divorce or even a partnership split, they tend to just either hit the bottle and they would just go on a downward spiral, or just do, like, drugs in general, or like other things to do with self-harm. But yeah, I'm kind of proud of Ginger Jirachi not falling for that trap, I would say, in that depth of despair. But yeah, Pokemon Go is something. Despite me hating it, it is something. It does bring people together, as well as it brings that social element with, like, other people in your facility. But yeah, I do know how it is, man. With this, not with the Force, in general, but like with in terms of splitting from your exes and whatnot. And I do resonate with that quite a lot, really. As well as, yeah, us nerds, we tend to just, split away from what we're currently suffering with IOL, and we just have our escape. So our escape could be so many other media. It doesn't have to be either Pokemon or anime. It could be with cartoons or like Love Island, for example, for some people. So there is an outlet for everyone when it comes to escaping the overall reality that we live in. And yeah, I do agree with him on that.
Whether it's comfort thing or if it motivates you. So I'd say, yeah, through Go, that was honestly, I know it sounds so silly, but it was at that time in my life, it was a genuine lifesaver. Like, I was just going through so much, and Go got me out of bed in the morning. I had something to look forward to,
Exactly.
even though it's, quote unquote, just a video game. It really helped me push myself and, tell myself, hey, this isn't the end, it sucks right now. But you get through this, and you got a lot of friends, and, your team's never going to ditch you. So, yeah.
Exactly.
It sounds like, of course, your friends were just the way they grounded you during a time when your life was just full of turmoil.
Yeah.
Do you remember like a specific day or kind of a moment that made you, I guess, realize that these people are your people?
Yeah, I guess the first one that really kind of smacked me in the face was, I guess I didn't say what I do for work. So I'm a barber.
You're the one who can go for haircuts. All right, got you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got you guys on that. But
Yeah, take a trip all the way to Illinois from Texas. I'm down.
hey, our cuts might be cheaper here, though. I don't know about that. The shop I was working in was like 2 blocks away from the college in town. There is a Division III school, so very prominent as far as like their theater arts, and football was a huge deal there. And I remember one day one of my clients was a couple minutes late, and there was a bunch of people outside of the shop for a Mewtwo raid. And everybody was like, why are all these people
Jeez.
outside of the shop? I was like, oh yeah, if my client shows up, tell him to wait because I want to be a part of this. I didn't end up catching Mewtwo. I think that's the only raid.
No, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. No way. No way my man did this. My man is working his job. And he's like, you know what? Yo, I know you're paying me to give you a shape up. But hang on, there's a Mewtwo raid going on right now. That is classic, dude. I do know how excited everyone was when it came to the Mewtwo raids. Legit, so many people just dropped off things at a drop of a hat to enter into the Mewtwo raid. But that is just hilarious. Hey, client, I know you're paying me $30 to give you a lovely shape up. But you know what? Hang on right there and wait. Because me and the boys are just in a Mewtwo raid right now. Or the Mewtwo raid's about to start. Don't mind me. I will give you a good old shape up when it's done. That is just jokes, dude.
That I have not completed. I didn't get the Mewtwo, which is surprising because there's literally like just in a block radius, there must have been like 100 people. But I quickly realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a grown male and I'm still so psyched and still into this, and to see all the different walks of life like that come together for a raid or, event, whatever that may be, it really solidified to me that Pokemon doesn't really have an age, if it's been a part of my life forever. Who's to say, I've met people that could be my grandma or grandpa, and they love Pokemon because of Go, or one thing or the other got them into it. So yeah, that definitely hit me. I was like, I felt like a stranger in a new land, right? But to see all these people that shared passion for Pokemon, I was like, yeah, this is it,
Now, my last question just in regards to Go, because you just have an amazing story, but I kind of want to know, like, how do you play? Are you like a collector, shiny hunter? What's your kind of way to engage when it just comes to Pokemon Go?
So that's kind of a mixed bags. The city I live in, it's technically a city, is only like 15,000 people. But during the shutdown, we didn't really shut down. Like everything was still pretty much open, for better or for worse. Everybody did their own things and was still respectful and whatever. But during the shutdown, a couple cities over is the quote unquote bigger city around here. It's called Peoria, Illinois. They had already had a Pokemon Go group. And a lot of them, because there wasn't anything to do, nothing was open, especially in Peoria. So they would come over the bridge and they started like a lot of spots. And there was, I guess, those first year and a half, 2 years of people being like, oh, well, we don't know what's going on. It might be the end of the world. There was so many people that came over here and kind of injected Pokemon into a little city because when the app first came out, I think the only Pokestop in this area was our Walmart, which is like 5 miles from where I live. So I definitely use it for like exercise. I love knowing how much I cycled or walked that day. I try and stay fit. I'm not a muscular guy at all. I've never been able to keep muscle on. So I always try and, I do a lot of cardio. So that's great to track it that way. Just recently, I've been running into a lot of shinies, and I don't know if that's the algorithm, like, this guy's been playing every single day, we're going to hook him up or whatever. But, I trade with people. I don't drink anymore, but I still go to the pub, see those people and play some shuffleboard. And it's pretty incredible how I'm still meeting new people through that, because I'll be there checking and spinning stops, and somebody be like, oh my gosh, I play, and we add each other. So I use it for a little bit of everything. I'd say I'm definitely more of like a collector. I've kind of chilled out on the raids because, like I said, our city's really, really small. So there's not a whole lot of people that are like daily goers like I am. So it's definitely more like a point of pride. I guess my biggest thing is I live right off the square in my hometown. It's got a little fountain and some boutiques and a candy store and whatever. So I kind of pride myself with the gyms there being in control of it for, 6 days to, a week plus. It's kind of fun, to be like, yeah, this is my turf.
Well, let's shift over to how you meet people online through your Facebook group. You have a Facebook group called Ginger Jirachi. Now, for those who can't see you, you are obviously a ginger. So, spoiler alert, you're a ginger, and that's how.
Yeah,
the name came about.
I could kind of guess
the reason why.
that he's a
why
ginger.
Did you want to launch the Facebook page?
You know, one of my college buddies from Christian University, he's always been encouraging over the years. He's like, yeah, you should start a YouTube, or you need to get on Vine or TikTok, or, whatever it is at the time. And, I had to tell him, I was like, with my career and family stuff that I've already committed to, it's hard to find time to even get on my Switch Lite, God forbid, running a whole page with videos and stuff. So I decided to start my journey of sobriety. And very quickly, I was like, I'm not spending all this time and money, doing this foolish stuff. I was like, I have time to, let me just start a Facebook page, because over the years, I've met so many cool people through their Pokemon pages. I was like, maybe this, is a good, healthy outlet. And I was very surprised within not even a month how many people followed me and how many people reached out and, added me to their groups and stuff and group messages. And it's just been really neat to see all these different walks of life through that. Honestly, I can't imagine it any different way now. It's kind of something where I'm like, dude, had you just gotten your head out of your butt, you could have been doing this years ago. Maybe, ifs, ands, or buts. I don't like to be like that, but I'm very thankful and very blessed to be where I'm at now, doing something that's fun. I get to meet new people. I'm always up to date on stuff. And for some people, it might seem a little silly that a guy in his mid-30s is still so into it, but it's given me a super healthy outlet to be myself and share the things that I want to share. My page is, it's...
I mean, I kind of do see where he's coming from. But the thing is, no matter how old you are, if it's a hobby, it's a hobby. Screw what people think about what, age you are if you're doing kiddie stuff. You shouldn't really care what other people think of you. You should only care if it benefits you. If it benefits you, then carry on doing it. Even if you're old and grey, if you still like playing Pokemon, so be it, because that's what makes you happy in this life. And no one should control your own happiness. That's how I see things anyway. But I do kind of understand where people were saying to me, I think it was a decade ago, back in secondary school or even primary school, where so many people keep bashing anime, saying anime is for kids and anime is this or that. And then if you turn back time and you fast forward to 10 years later, those same people that bash anime are now lovers of anime. They do like anime. So no matter what age you are, if you love something and you have a passion for it, then go for it, my dude. Screw what any other person will think. If it gives you your true happiness, then continue with that happiness itself. No matter who's demanding you to like or dislike, either way, really. But I do get you.
Still super young. The page is still fairly small, and I haven't really figured out if I want to focus on cards or if I want to focus on Go. So I kind of just use the page as my outlet to share my trainer journey. I've been very surprised at the outreach and people that are, actually into my content that's, it's homegrown. It's all reposts. It's mostly, just my life of this is how big of a trainer I am, and people seem to really enjoy it. So I'm going to keep it up, and it's been a blast so far.
In what ways has running the Ginger Jirachi page supported your sobriety and personal growth?
It's something I've struggled with the last 10 years. A lot of people say alcoholism is hereditary. I don't know so much if that's true, or at least that's not really my belief. But it's more nature versus nurture, where it's all my friends drink, both sides of my family drink, and it was just always a constant, it was so normalized. Which to an extent I don't think is a bad thing. But right when I turned 21, I was a mess, I was getting in trouble, I lost my license for a little bit. So literally this time around when I prayed on it, I've been talking to people about it, and finally I was like, you know what, it's time to put it down. And literally my first day after everything, was out of my system, I'd sweat it out. I was like, you know what, I'm going to start a page. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but, at least my friends will like it. It'll give me, a reason to be on the phone instead of hey, let's party or, let's meet at the pub or whatever. So it's been very beneficial for me it holds me accountable in a way because it's something, it's not like you post once or twice a day. You kind of got to be constantly in it and interacting with people. If I was sloppy drunk, that would just be impossible for me. I'm a terrible multitasker as it is already.
Right.
So this new step in my journey has kind of given me the opportunity to not just hold myself accountable, but now with different pages and long friends, new friends, I've been pretty vocal about it in conversation. So it kind of has that other side of accountability where if I didn't post one day, I'm sure somebody would be like, hey man, like what's up? So it's like I said earlier, it's a great healthy outlet to spend my time on, in and around, however you want to put it. Like I said, I've been having a blast, and it's something that I wish I would have done sooner in my life, but better late than never, and it's been awesome.
I think anybody who's been through sobriety at any point in their lives would wish that, because you think about all the years you lost, you think about all the time you wasted, you think about who you were in that stage of life. But I think what's unique about your sobriety story, at least from what I understand, is usually from my experience, a lot of people who struggle with sobriety are those they struggle with trying to find the social life because they can't go back to the old friends. They can't go back to the old bars because that would be them kind of sliding back into their old life.
Yeah.
But your story, from my perspective, you correct me if I'm wrong, you were still able to keep some connection with some people, maybe, through Pokemon Go. So you
absolutely.
You were able to kind of keep the social life you had, but you connected with them in a different way.
Yes. Yeah, no, you nailed that 100%. That's something I thought about initially when I was like, what, the big guy upstairs needs me to do this and get clean. And, if I want these things in my life, this is a great start to it. And there's some people, see as often anymore as far as, my temptations go. But for the most part, everybody that I've met through Go, specifically at my hometown pub, which is literally right across the street from me. It's 2 blocks from my parents, is kind of the go-to spot in town here. I'll go there and get a lemonade and play shuffleboard, but it's incredible how many people I met years ago that I don't remember, and they'll be like, hey, you're the Pokemon, because I'm always wearing my Pokeball hat, so they're like, you're the Pokemon guy, like, can you trade with me? And it's funny because I'm like, dude, I was probably so wasted, like, I don't remember these people, but they remember me, so to keep some of those connections through an app kind of blows my mind. I'm not the most tech-smart guy. It kind of feels like the movie Spy Kids, like everything is just at the tip of your smartphone, and it's incredible how many connections you can make and maintain just through an app. So that's been really cool.
Well, that's amazing to hear, man. This is my last question just in regards to Ginger Jirachi. You're working on trying to find your way through what you want to post, and that's okay, obviously. That's part of the journey.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what type of community you kind of hope to build around that page, at least?
For me, personally, Pokemon has been such a saving light in my life. I just want to share things that inspire people or make themselves proud of themselves. There's a lot of great artists out there. There's a lot of great pages out there. So I try and keep it focused on like the smaller guys as far as sharing content goes, because it's like, if I want to grow my page, you got to put in and show that love back to the community. So definitely focused on more like grassroots type pages right now. But as far as content in the future, if you click on my page, it should be a cozy, welcoming place where, you can share whatever it is, whether it's Pokemon related, or you can even DM me and start a conversation.
He is honestly a better man than me. On my pages, all I post is just slop. When someone comes on my page, all they see is slop. But yeah, he's a better man than me. He's a way better man than me. But at the same time, he needs to post more stuff of his, content. He could post anything to do with, Jirachi from, the games, like Pokemon Stadium? Was Jirachi in Pokemon Stadium? I'm not really too sure. And he could even do the Bidoof mission for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I haven't heard that yet. So I would tell him in DMs, play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Bidoof special mission. And then he could have fun with it. But yeah. Yeah, I do like to see how far he's coming. and growing in general. I remember he commented on my page at some point. I think he commented or he shared. I just can't even remember. Um, then I decided to share his content. And then a day later, I think all the other pages start sharing him as well. I start following him. Then boom, he start blowing up in a way. And I'm happy for him that he's somewhat blew up. Although his follower count is quite low, below like 200, it's still a massive improvement compared to most pages out there that took months or even years to even reach that point. And I'm proud of him for, like, reaching that goal in general. And hopefully you could get 5K by the end of the year if he continues up the pace, as well as posting more content on his page, so people can just start sharing the post or interacting with his posts in general, compared to the other shared posts that's on his page, which will not like benefit him that much really, especially as a smaller page compared to a larger one.
I want it to be very communal. Pokemon has been such a communal thing for me over all these years. So right now, I'm really just kind of focused on keeping my feet on the ground and keep things rolling. If you guys stick around, you'll see the page slowly mature over time. Like I said earlier, I kind of want to do like an artist highlights on some of the illustrators, because some of that artwork is really incredible. And some of these people have been doing it for so long, but the only artwork of theirs I've seen have been on the card. It'll be Pokemon related, but I'd also like to delve into some of those artists as far as like their backgrounds go and, see where their styles started. That's just something that turns my brain on. And I've just had so much positive feedback from what I'm doing already. I imagine that somebody will feel the same way.
Well, Jirachi, I want to finish on this last question. You've gone through so many hard seasons that people will probably be able to relate to in different ways. What message do you want your page and your story to give to people who may feel down and out, or who may be kind of where you were a long time ago?
To stay on theme, and it's something I genuinely believe in, sometimes wishes do come true. Outside of spirituality or religion, praying for something or manifesting something, I just wish the best for all the trainers out there. Pokemon has been it's been a healer, it's been a friend, it's been an outlet. I just want people to know that sometimes wishes do come true. Sometimes you can make a big life change for the positive and realize, what you've wanted all along has been right at your fingertips. You just got to put in the training for it.
Well, Jirachi, if they want to check out your page, if they want to connect with you, where can they go? By all means, please plug away.
So I'm really just on Facebook right now. I love being just on Facebook, but there is going to be a point where I'm going to need other socials to continue this journey. So yeah, for right now, it's just Jirachi on Facebook. I wish all the trainers the best, and if you decide to check me out, I'll be there.
Thank you for listening to As the Pokeball Turns. If this story resonated with you, share the podcast with a fellow trainer, and don't forget to follow us for more voices, more journeys, and more memories. I'm David Hernandez, and remember, your next Pokemon adventure begins here.
You know what? That wasn't a bad podcast. Although I'm not that much into Pokemon cards, to be honest with him, but with the X throwing his stuff away, I do resonate with that, because it's bringing back some childhood memories with my own parents. Oh, like, goddamn, man. But yeah, that having a Mewtwo raid while you're working and you have like a customer, and you're like, hey, yeah, just wait, I'm in the middle of a Mewtwo raid. Don't mind me, mate. It's just hilarious. But yeah, it wasn't too much of a bad podcast. I did like this podcast. But yeah, except for the Pokemon Go segments, because it's cringe. I do respect Pokemon Go helping him out. From coming from that depth where majority of men or even women will go through, which is known as like depression after what happened with their spouse. But yeah, it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's a feel good moment, really, that there is a better tomorrow. And I'm glad he found his tomorrow. Although it's foul Pokemon Go, which is cringe. But I do respect it. I do respect it. Anyway, guys, go check out As the Pokeball Turns, as well as follow As the Pokeball Turns and the Ginger Jirachi on Facebook. So take care and enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, or night. And I catch you guys later. Bye!